Łódź, the family service centre. This is where the Centre for the Integration of Foreigners is located. Originally, it helped refugees from Ukraine fleeing the war. Now the city is preparing a new scenario. The centre is to be expanded and its activities and operations are to be continued, but focused on newcomers from the Middle East, illegal immigrants from Africa, whom the German authorities are sending here en masse. This warning comes from Piotr Cieplucha, formerly Deputy Governor of Łódź and currently a member of the Border Defence Movement. He notes that a home for single mothers operates in the vicinity of the integration centre. I wonder how the situation will develop here in the future, when on the one hand we will have single mothers with children in difficult life situations in one building, and on the other hand, exotic doctors and engineers will be staying right next door. This recording caused a storm in the institution subordinate to Łódź Mayor Hanna Zdanowska of the Civic Platform. According to a parliamentary audit conducted a few months ago by MP Agnieszka Wojciechowska van Hejokelom at the Łódź Social Welfare Centre, these institutions are quite sparing in informing the public about their activities towards foreigners. Please, first of all, a list of the number of people from third countries served by the Municipal Social Welfare Centre in Łódź each year in the last 5 years, with an indication of which countries they came from. I don't think I can give you that. I have access to classified information. You're out of luck. We will definitely not present these documents. We will definitely not send them. Why not? Because we will not generate costs. Now the Family Service Centre argues that immigrants deserve the same care as single mothers. Exotic doctors and engineers, language that divides. Such terms dehumanise and perpetuate the fear of people from other cultures, fueling fear and pitting the residents of the single mother's home run by the Antonian sisters against migrants is particularly hurtful and irresponsible. Is that so? The experience of other European countries suggests the opposite. As the number of culturally foreign foreigners increases, crime also tends to rise, with women very often being the victims. In Germany, between 2017 and 2021, immigrants from Afghanistan and Pakistan committed 16 times more rapes than German men, and immigrants from Africa committed 11 times more. In Italy, between 2018 and 2021, immigrants from Afghanistan and Pakistan committed 15 times more sexual crimes than Italians. Immigrants from North Africa committed 14 times more, and immigrants from the rest of Africa 12 times more. Hence the protests against mass illegal immigration, such as the one in London. The problem is that despite the increasingly strong opposition of European nations, left-wing liberal politicians continue to push the multicultural model. This is also the case in Poland. Next year, the Migration Pact will come into force, blocked by the Law and Justice government, but adopted by the European Commission a few days after Donald Tusk and his coalition took power on the 13th of December 2023. What should be done about the Migration Pact? Well, there is a problem here, but I have always said that if we do not want to accept migrants, we should help those who do. We can afford to contribute money to the common budget so that France, Spain and Italy can be relieved of the burden of supporting them. However, most Poles oppose mass immigration and demand that the Migration Pact be terminated. Hence the collection of signatures for a migration referendum organised by Law and Justice. Here in Gowolin, a few days ago, residents were shocked by the news of Afghans who were first placed in a nearby emergency shelter with their small children and then escaped from it. Gowolin County is a place where women, children and young people can move around safely without any special concerns, and we want it to stay that way, hence our initiative and our action. The Ordo Iuris Institute is also calling for a halt to mass immigration. Anyone might sign a petition addressed to Donald Tusk at www.niedliamigracji.pl. Public reaction is important. The protests that are taking place are important, as are the citizens' draft resolutions that have been submitted to local authorities. But it is also important to hold each other accountable and to exert constant pressure on the government. This pressure makes sense and is already yielding tangible results. The Border Defence Movement patrols, so heavily criticised by the government, have effectively prevented Germany from bringing unwanted illegal immigrants to Poland. That is roughly 240 people deported from Germany this month. This is a decrease of well over 80%. We remember last year what the numbers looked like in these summer months. Over 1,000 people were expelled per month. Now it's falling to 240 to 250 people. It's amazing. It's our success. The controls are working. It's amazing. It's working. On the 6th of September, a large march against the migration policy of Donald Tusk's government will take place on the streets of Warsaw. It will start at 1 p.m. in front of the European Commission offices. The front line in the Kharkiv region. The Ukrainians repelled the enemy's attack and launched a counter-offensive themselves. They want to have the best possible position on the battlefield before Friday's meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, in order to take away as many arguments as possible from the Russian criminal. The road to peace leads through negotiations, and we need them very much. But peace will not come tomorrow, so today we must still fight the enemy. Both soldiers on the front line and Ukrainian civilians, shelled by criminal Russia, are already awaiting the outcome of Friday's summit. Trump has tried many times to break Putin, giving him ultimatums and imposing sanctions. Perhaps a personal meeting will lead to the end of the war, but Putin certainly does not want that. Everyone is looking hopefully to Alaska, where the most important meeting for the fate of the war in Ukraine may take place the day after tomorrow. It is clear that Donald Trump will be taking from a position of strength. The U.S. administration gave assurances that there will be no concessions to the Kremlin.
The goal of this meeting for the president is to walk away with a better understanding of how we can end this war. And the president said at this podium yesterday, when he joined all of you in the room, that he hopes in the future there can be a trilateral meeting with these three leaders to finally bring this conflict to an end. But this administration has really used every lever, has taken every measure to achieve peace through a diplomatic solution. And I think the president of the United States getting in the room with the president of Russia, sitting face to face rather than speaking over the telephone, will give this president the best indication of how to end this war and where this is headed.
Donald Trump has repeatedly given assurances that his goal is to save the lives of civilians who are dying every day in this war. And if anyone can stop Putin's madness, it is a Republican. It is necessary to mention the groundbreaking events of the last few months. One of them is customs policy, because it is not only an economic dimension, but also a geopolitical one. Trump has used it at this moment to put pressure on India, Russia's main ally, an ally in the sense that it is one of the main countries buying oil from Russia, or allowing Russia to continue this war financially. The second issue is what happened in the Middle East, a historically groundbreaking event, the knocking out of Iran. That is, the rebuilding of a certain balance of power in the Middle East at the feet of Russia. Donald Trump will fly to Alaska late Thursday evening to be in Anchorage, the largest city in that U.S. state, on Friday morning. On that day, the airspace over Alaska will be closed to commercial flights. The meeting will take place at the Elmendorf-Richardson military base on the northern outskirts of the city. It is the headquarters of the Alaska Military Command, the 11th Airborne Division, and the 3rd Wing of the U.S. Air Force, which operates F-22 fighter jets.
Założenia są tego spotkania, żeby
The assumptions of this meeting are that, based on what he said yesterday at the press conference, he wants to get a feel for and see where the chances for achieving peace stand, because, of course, Trump promised in his election campaign that he would be able to end this war in a few days. Of course, even for us, Trump voters, it was a bit of an exaggerated wish on Trump's part. But as we know very well, Trump is a president of peace. There is a chance for peace because for Trump, the number one priority is for people to stop dying. And with that hope, he will travel to Alaska. And before the trip this afternoon, the American president spoke to Volodymyr Zelensky, who is visiting Berlin, the NATO Secretary General, and European leaders. Poland was represented by President Karol Nawrocki.
Typhoon Padul swept across southern Taiwan. Winds reached speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour, tearing off roofs. Hundreds of domestic, regional, and international flights have been canceled. Taiwan's Central Weather Bureau reported that Padul hit the southeastern city of Taidong this morning. It passed through the southern tip of the island and then headed for the Taiwan Strait. Authorities closed a large part of the island, and more than 5,500 people were evacuated before the typhoon hit. When it comes to typhoon prevention measures, they are basically the same every year because typhoons often pass through the island. However, due to the high speed of Typhoon Padul, we did not stock up on supplies for many days. It is important to know that a typhoon that reaches the city will blow everything off the streets. Trash cans, baskets, boxes, bicycles, heavy potted plants will be knocked over. Poorly secured tin roofs will be torn off and will start flying, that's for sure. And then they will be a danger. At least one person has died and 33 have been injured. 9 counties have announced the suspension of work and school. In the capital, Taipei, where Taiwan's financial markets are located, gusty winds blew, but did not affect the operation of institutions. According to forecasts, after making landfall, the storm will hit the much more densely populated west coast of Taiwan and then head towards the southern provinces of China at the end of the week. Authorities in China's coastal provinces have stepped up preparations to prevent potential damage in anticipation of Typhoon Padul. Civilians have been evacuated from affected areas and boats have been ordered to return to port. Fishing boats must quickly return to port and then be secured to prevent losses. A typhoon is coming, which means we will only be able to go out to sea after it has passed. All the passenger ferry services, including key crossings across the Taiwan Strait, have been suspended, and 114 coastal construction projects have been put on hold. Heavy rains are forecast for the next 3 days in southern and southwestern China, increasing the risk of landslides and flooding.